Thank you for joining us today. We're going to do a webinar on Egypt and the Nile River, and I've got Richard Bravo from AmaWaterways with us, and also Todd Ney has been so gracious to join us. He's an amazing expert on this region, and I think you're really going to enjoy what he has to share. And stay tuned till the end, because we've got a special surprise, and I think I'm just going to hand it over to Todd so he can get started, because there's a lot of good information he's got to give you all.
Okay, Richard.
Yeah, so listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you've had a chance to listen in on some of the other webinars that we presented, or at least listen to some of the recordings that Becky has shared out afterwards. Just wanted to again, thank you for that. I know there's a lot going on, so we really appreciate you joining us. Just like Becky said, Todd is actually our product manager of Africa and Egypt product. Today he's going to be giving a really thorough overview on Egypt. I've had the pleasure of listening to Todd present on Egypt a number of times, and I think you're really going to love what you hear. And you know, the other reason we've really been doing these series with Becky is, one, just to stay engaged with you. More important, to let you know that it is okay to still dream of travel. Well, we all understand the current situation. We're all waiting for some more positive news when we can all get out there and actually, you know, travel like we'd like to. Hopefully these are some fun things that you can start adding to your list and just gaining some additional knowledge on. So I'm going to turn it over to Todd, and Todd, very much looking forward to this. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Richard. So hi, my name is Todd. I'm in Los Angeles, speaking to you from Los Angeles. And the first thing I'd like to do is point out the location of Egypt and in the world. It's located in northeastern Africa, bordering the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea to the north. On this map, we've also got where the location of Israel is, Jordan, as well as the UAE or Dubai. We put these on the map simply because those are extensions that you can do before and after the trip. And also, I'd like you to pay attention to Abu Simbel down on the left-hand side, and I'll tell you more about that as we get through this presentation. Okay, so here's the close-up of our itinerary, Secrets of the Nile, or of Egypt and the Nile. And basically, we'll start in Cairo for 3 nights, and then we'll fly down to Luxor. The flight to Luxor takes about an hour. We'll board our ship, 7 nights on the Nile, and then we'll return back to Luxor, fly back to Cairo for 1 night, and you all have a choice of going to Israel afterwards, and again, Jordan or Dubai before this trip. Okay, so Becky is promoting a particular date in Egypt, and this date actually is starting in November, arriving in Cairo on the 11th and departing Cairo on the 22nd, 2022. So that's still 24, well, what is that, 27 months away from now. Okay, the first thing I want to do is maybe point out Cairo. Cairo is a massive city of 22 million people. You can see on the screen here that the river that runs through the Cairo is the Nile. The Nile itself is, well, it competes against the Amazon as the world's longest river. Some say the Amazon is, some say the Nile is. The Nile is actually 4,300 miles long. It originates way up in Uganda and Lake Victoria, and there's 2 Niles, the Blue Nile and the White Nile, and they converge to form the Nile, and then it drains into the Mediterranean. So just some curious facts about Cairo, and its name is an Arabic word meaning conqueror. The Egyptians themselves came up with the 365-day-a-year calendar, and a weekend in Cairo is considered Friday and Saturday. And to tell you how big this city was, even back in the 14th century, Cairo already had over 500,000 people. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is our new ship called the AmaDahlia. The AmaDahlia, it's actually in the shipyard right now. I guess today is August, being built. Actually, in Egypt, you cannot bring another ship onto the Nile. You have to actually, if you want to come on the Nile, you have to take an older ship and, you know, scrape it down to its hull like a skeleton and rebuild to the top. And that's what we've done. So we're rebuilding a 5-star ship, the AmaDahlia. Dahlia is a flower native to Egypt. The AmaDahlia will have 34 rooms, actually 18 regular rooms and 16 suites. There'll be a pool. Well, actually, let me go to the next one. I'll show you the layout. Here's the layout of the AmaDahlia. You can see there's 5 decks. They're named after native plants of Egypt: the acacia deck, lotus, lily, jasmine, and then we have the top deck. The bottom deck, acacia deck, these are rooms of 196 square feet, and they have a large panorama window or a window rate. There's no balcony or French balcony on the acacia deck. And as you work your way up, you'll come up to the purple section, which is category C. And those rooms come with a French balcony, and they are about 226 square feet. And then above that, the green, the turquoise, the navy blue, and pink, those are all suites ranging in size from 370 to 430 square feet. And they all come with either a balcony or a balcony and a French balcony, or vice versa, either or. Each room has the turquoise, they just come with a French balcony, but the green, they come with a full balcony. And then you work your way up, you have the main restaurant on the lily deck, and then on the very top deck, for those that have traveled with Ama before, you'll find there's a chef's table, and the chef's table is sort of like a personal invitation, and all the guests get invited to this restaurant at least once on the cruise. Seats 12 to 15 guests, and they get a special chef presentation dinner. We also have a fitness room, we have a massage room, nail and salon, bar, of course, and the pool up on the top. And there is an elevator on the ship. It goes all the way, it starts at the acacia deck, and it'll work its way up to the jasmine deck. To get to the sun deck, you would have to take stairs. Also, I should point out that friends that are traveling together or families, we do have some rooms that are adjoining. So I'm just going to show you some pictures of the top deck, or the deck, the ship in general. So here's the top deck. It is incredibly, very dry in Egypt, lots of sun. We have a swimming pool. You can see at the back of the deck, we have a sort of like a covered outdoor sitting area, and we do that. To give you an example, Dina, one of my Egyptologists I work with in Cairo, I asked her the last time I was there, when was the last time it rained in Luxor? And she looked at me, shrugged her shoulders, and thought it was a pretty dumb question, because then she said 18, 19 years ago. So it is incredibly dry. Those circular things that you see there, those are actually showers. So these are renderings of the AmaDahlia. We're still working on the final colors and textures and so on, but this should give you a pretty good idea of what we're looking at. You can see the sand color mainly because of the desert colors in Egypt. This is the lounge or the bar, and like we do in Europe, we will have sip and sail. So we'll always have a happy hour every night, and there'll be a cocktail of the day, or just beer and wine complimentary during the happy hour before dinner. And then in the evenings after dinner, we'll also have entertainment, things like a captain's welcome cocktail party, or something what we call like Galabaya party, which is a costume party. And if you want to dress up like the locals, you can pick up a costume in the gift shop, I guess. And then there's a thing called a Darwish show, which is a folk music, cultural heritage, and dancing. We'll even do a belly dancing show one night. All right, and this is our main restaurant. And with our meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner served in, of course, the restaurant. Lunch and dinner will always include complimentary local beer and local wine. And local wine in Egypt is not, well, some of it's the vineyards from Egypt, but a lot of grapes are imported from South Africa, and so they mix it all up. It's actually very good. So local wine and beer are always included with your lunch and dinner. And we can always cater to certain, dietary restrictions and so on. Dairy-free, gluten, vegan, stuff like that. Be no issues there. And the restaurant will be managed by a crew that we brought in from Europe, and the food itself will basically be Egyptian, or which is like Eastern Mediterranean or Mediterranean foods, as well as continental Western foods. So there'll be a good range of food, different styles. Show you a picture of the suites here in the AmaDahlia. You can see you either come with 2 beds or twin beds, or or one bed. It's up to you which one you prefer. Up on the right-hand side, you'll see a sitting room that we have with a couch and so on. And there's an aerial view on the bottom. All the rooms will come with on-demand television and complimentary Wi-Fi. This is another picture of the sitting room in the suites. Again, there are 16 suites in the AmaDahlia, on the AmaDahlia. Here's a picture of a bathroom in a suite. Something I didn't really realize until a few weeks ago, but the suites will all come with a full tub and a walk-in shower and 2 sinks. And I realize now that that's pretty important to a lot of people. So 2 sinks in all the suites. The lower category rooms will all come with a walk-in shower and 1 sink. Okay, so let's look at our new ship, the AmaDahlia. It's actually, like I said, in the shipyard. It'll be completed in January of next year. And once it's done, we don't start sailing actually in Egypt until September of 2021. So we'll have about 8 months to get the ship in shape and ready for our first departure in September. Once again, your departure that Becky is promoting is in November of 2022. So this is how it would work. A hotel we're using in Egypt, in Cairo, is the Four Seasons Hotel Cairo at the first residence. So basically how it would work on day 1, you're going to arrive from North America. Usually most flights from North America arrive in Cairo in the late afternoon or early evening. So we will meet you at the airport, we'll assist you through immigration, customs, and then we'll transfer you to the hotel. You don't need to buy air through AmaWaterways or anything. Everybody will get a transfer on arrival. Do you need a visa to get into Egypt? Yes, and a visa currently, as of today, is $25, and you apply for it online, and maybe go online about a month before your trip, and you pay with a credit card, $25, and they'll send you a confirmation within 24 or 48 hours, and you take that confirmation with you to Egypt. So we'll take you to the hotel. Nothing planned the first evening, just because you've taken a long time to fly over from North America. And the next day, or next room, the room itself that you're staying are partial Nile view rooms, and they're kind of like on the upper half of the hotel. These rooms are about 530 square feet. They range in size from 480 to 530 square feet. Complimentary Wi-Fi, and for those that know their music, each room comes equipped with a Bose music system. And you can see the Nile out there over on the left-hand side of the slide. Here's the swimming pool in the hotel. It's a large hotel in terms of, like, it has only, well, it's a complimentary small hotel of 200 rooms. Hotel's location is about a mile south of the main downtown area of Cairo. And the main downtown area can be really, really congested, crowded, kind of chaotic. So we chose to take a hotel just a little bit outside the central core, and it overlooks the river. The Four Seasons Cairo at the first residence. If you go on TripAdvisor, it is rated #1 in Giza. So here's the swimming pool, and there's a fitness center in the hotel, as well as a spa. Sometimes they'll have a little small casino in there. It's across the street from the botanical gardens. It's just kind of like an area of tranquility in a city that's full of hustle and bustle. There are 6 or 7 restaurants in the hotel. They vary the number during the year, but they represent cuisines from all around the world. So in Cairo, we'll always include on our trips breakfast and lunch. We don't include dinner, simply because you have so many choices when you're at the hotel. So you've arrived at the hotel, got a good night's sleep, and then the next morning, we're gonna head over to the Egyptian Museum, and this is where you'll find the exhibit of King Tut. King Tut ruled Egypt from 1332 BC to 1322 BC, 10 years. Surprisingly, he started ruling Egypt when he was 9, and he died at the age of 19. So pretty amazing. But the mask you're looking at right now was found in 1925 in the Valley of the Kings. And so what we'll do, you'll get to see the King Tut exhibit. They found a lot of more of his personal possessions recently, and it'll be in the museum. The other thing I should mention, they are building a new museum in Cairo. It's called the Grand Museum. It'll house many more artifacts, including this King Tut exhibit. And the Grand Museum was supposed to be completed last year. No, it didn't happen. Then they said 2020, didn't happen. But now they're saying it's going to be completed in 2021. And I think it may be. I recently saw on CNN at a half-an-hour documentary about the new museum opening up in Cairo. So by the time you visit Cairo in 2022, you'll be visiting the new museum. So we'll spend about a half a day in the museum. We'll give you a private tour of the museum, as well as you'll have time to explore on your own. Another place we'll visit this day will be the Khan al-Khalili market. This market's been around in Cairo since the 10th century. It's kind of like the artist quarters. This is where artisans, craftsmen, so on and so on. This is where they work and they sell their wares. There's also in this area coffee shops, and they're coffee shops / restaurants. And in Cairo, coffee houses have been around since the 1760s, kind of like Starbucks from the 1990s. In Cairo, they were promoting this type of concept way back in 1760. The food is great in these coffee houses, and we are going to have lunch in this particular area. The food is rated as some of the best in the city of Cairo. Even though they call it a coffee house, it's more like a restaurant. So we'll get time to have lunch there, and then we'll have time to walk through the market and visit the locals. And if you can see, a lot of people say, well, what are the costumes you're supposed to dress up in the costume party in Al-Madalia? Well, the Egyptians, a lot of them wear these long smocks that cover their whole body. More often than not, they're white to protect themselves from the sun and reflect the sun rays. Okay, and we'll head back to the hotel. You get a good night's rest. We actually have a welcome reception that night with cocktails, and you can meet everybody. And the next morning, we're going to head out over to visit the pyramids. The pyramids are built of limestone and granite. Each pyramid consists of about 2 to 2.5 million pieces of brick, I guess if you want to call it. The largest one is 488 feet high, and actually the pyramids were the tallest structures in the world up until the 14th century. The pyramids themselves are also tombs that house, the burial of kings and pharaohs in Egypt. And a lot of people say, well, can you get into the pyramids? Well, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. There is an entrance. It's very small. You crawl through it, and sometimes you got to get out. You got to backwards up. But more often than not, it's not open to see the tombs. When they do open it, it's kind of like last minute, and they charge like $25. If you're there while we're there and their tomb is open, you're welcome to spend the $25 and see if you can get in there. It's just you've got to have good mobility to climb in and climb out of the tomb. The other thing people ask about is camels. Is there a camel ride? You can do camel rides at the pyramids. We don't include them. Camels aren't actually native to Egypt, but they are iconic in this part of the world. So if you want to do an Egypt or a camel ride, this is where you would do it. Pay the camel owner $15, and he'll let you go on top of his camel. He'll walk you around on the camel and take a picture. The whole outing takes 10 to 15 minutes. Another cool thing that we will visit is the Sphinx. This is nearby with the pyramids. The Sphinx itself it's the body of a lion and a head of a king or a pharaoh. And in this case, it's King Khafre, which is the Sphinx that we're also we all know. What makes this Sphinx really kind of cool is that, it took about 3 years to build, completed in around 2500 BC, and it's carved out of one stone. So it's pretty amazing just to see this thing. And then after the Sphinx, we're going to go have lunch, and we're going to have lunch at the Mena House. And this is actually an old hunting lodge near the pyramids, and the Nile flows through here. This is on the delta of the Nile. And way back in the 1800s, 1860s and so on, they built this lodge. Hunters used to come down from Europe to hunt hippos, crocodiles on the delta. And of course, they don't do that now. Instead, we're going to have, we'll visit the Mena House. It's a beautiful structure, and we'll have a beautiful 5-star lunch overlooking the pyramids. After this, we'll head into Cairo, visit a couple of churches, synagogues, and so on. On this day, you want to wear clothing that covers your knees, because we are going into a couple of synagogues, but that's the only time that you need to worry about what you dress. Otherwise, you wear just shorts, t-shirts, or whatever makes you comfortable when you travel. Again, the sun shines a lot in Egypt, so always encourage sunblock as well as a sun hat. All right, so we just finished our third night in Egypt, and then we're flying down to, next morning, we go ahead to the airport and we fly down to Luxor. And Luxor is a city of 500,000 people. It's an Arabic word meaning fortress, and it's home to a lot of temples, like the Luxor temple, which I'll show you right here. So what's gonna happen, we'll fly from Cairo, take an hour to get down to Luxor, we'll go to the ship, we'll have a beautiful lunch on the ship, like a little time to relax, and then we'll head over to Luxor Temple to explore. Walking tours of all the temples along the river, they take anywhere from 1 hour to 2 hours, all the temples. And if you have any mobility issues and stuff, you've got to be careful on this trip, simply because the temples are the way they were when they were built. They don't have hand railings, they don't have ramps. It's no benches and so on. These are, the original structures. So you should have good mobility in order to do all these walking tours and be able to stand for a couple of hours. Another neat temple that we're going to visit is the temple Queen Hatshepsut, or Queen, well, my friend Maggie tells me hot chicken soup. That's the way you pronounce it. And Queen Hot Chicken Soup, she ruled Egypt for about 20 years. Very, very strong ruler. We think about here in today's world where if you have a woman prime minister, president, or governor, or premier, or whatever, that's a big deal. But they had women leaders going back in 2500 BC. So Egypt was way ahead of the game. And Queen Hot Chicken Soup, if you see her statues today, because she was such a strong ruler, you'll see her with broad shoulders. Often you'll see her face with the beard, because they looked at her as strong as a male. Another cool thing that we're going to visit here is the tomb of Queen Nefertari. Very, very few people get to see this tomb. They really only kind of opened it up mid-1980s, but it was on and off. And it's really an exclusive visit. And to be honest with you, to get into this tomb, most companies do not include it because of the cost. It's like $125 per person just to get into this tomb. So most cruise companies won't include it, but it's included with AmaWaterways. Queen Nefertari, she was the first queen of King Ramses II and his favorite. She was also considered the most beautiful of all his wives. She was smart, educated, and she could read and write. And when did she marry King Ramses? At the age of 13. She died at the age of around 45, 50 years old, which in today's years would be like 100 years old. What's really kind of cool is that King Ramses, if you go online or stuff like that, you read he either died around the age of 66 or he died in his early 90s. I really don't know, but he lived a long life, considering that the average person in Egypt this time of year, the lifespan was in their 20s. Also, a neat thing when you go into this tomb, you can see it's very, very colorful. And you also, pay close attention, you'll see a lot of little poems and poetry that King Ramses wrote on the wall to Queen Nefertari. Another neat temple that we'll visit along the Nile. I'm just pointing out some of the temples and tombs and stuff that we visit, not everything, just to give you an idea during your 7-night cruise. And the Temple of Horus, built around 237 BC. Surprisingly, it was founded in 1860 by a French archaeologist, and it was sort of a fluke. He was just digging around, he came across something hard in the ground, and he found this temple. And when I say he was digging around, he was actually on top of a sand dune, digging down. And so when he found this temple was completely covered by a sand dune. All right, here's another interesting thing. Here's the Nile River, and I wanted to point out that when you cruise down the Nile, temples tend to be on the east side, tombs tend to be on the west side. Not in every case, but a lot of the cases. And why are tombs on the west side? Because the sun sets in the west, the end of the day. Tombs are for burial, so the end of life. So that's why they're on the west side of the Nile. The traditional way of getting around Egypt is, or the locals on the Nile, is with a felucca, and this is a felucca, and you will have the opportunity to ride a felucca on the Nile. Another cool thing that we're going to do that very few other people do, well, people do visit villages, but we're going to visit a Nubian village. The Nubians were the first settlers in Egypt, probably about 8,000 years ago, sort of like the indigenous here in the US or Canada, the First Nations. And they lived here for about 8,000 years, and they came from the Central Sahara, and they lived in southern Egypt and northern Sudan. And what happened was back in the 1950s, they built the S1 dam, and most of the Nubians lived in the areas behind the high dam, and a big lake was formed, Lake Nasser, so they were displaced. They have their homes now built on islands along the Nile, the southern Nile, and we'll visit one of their villages, and you can see how colorful the homes are. And look at all the drawings, carvings, and so on these homes, and each home tells a story. The carvings and stuff is a story of the family. Kind of cool. So we'll visit a Nubian village, and here's a sort of a picture of a local Nubian, but we're going to take it one step further, and we're actually going to tour and stay in the village. Most companies, if they visit a village, they'll go in, hang out for 30 minutes, and then back to the boat for lunch. We're actually going to stay, visit the market, and we're actually going to eat in the village and have lunch with the local Nubians. So that's kind of a special visit that nobody else really includes. Okay, here's a little tip I want to point out that we're down in Aswan, 200 miles south of Aswan is a place called Abu Simbel, built by King Ramses around 13 BC, I guess. It was a temple built for Queen Nefertari. Massive structure. I had no idea what to expect when I got here. And what makes this temple so special is that it actually was built in a valley below. But I can remember, if I mentioned earlier, they built this dam called the High Dam. And when the water started to fill up behind the dam, it was going to cover Abu Simbel. So the government went in and took the temple apart, brick by brick by brick, moved it up 600 feet, put it on the hill overlooking that lake, which is Lake Nasser. It is really, really special. And what makes us, in certain days of the year, like October 22nd and February 22nd, when the sun rises from the east, it'll shine right in that doorway that you see there and right through to the other side of the temple. Not everyone gets to see this place. It's because to get to Abu Simbel, you've got to fly on a plane. It's like a jet, like a 737. It's an optional trip. The cost is like $325 to watch in 2022, $345. And companies sell Abu Simbel as an optional trip on their ship when people get there. And it's kind of like first come, first serve. So a lot of people are disappointed that they don't get to see Abu Simbel. Usually like 80% of the people that go to Egypt want to see Abu Simbel. Most of them don't get to see it. So what we get to do, what we've done is we've worked with the airline that flies down to Abu Simbel, and we've blocked our seats. And so if you take this trip, you can pre-book it with AMA. So you're guaranteed to see Abu Simbel while you're on this cruise. So you pre-book it, you pay for it in advance. And so if they try to sell, sometimes you can get extra space when we're on the ship, but it's not guaranteed. So if you really want to see this thing, pre-book it, and then there's no uncertainty on your trip. I have to admit, Egypt is probably in the top 3 places I've been in the world as a product development guy. I've gone to a lot of places. I read online or something, you don't say how many countries you've been to and stuff, but I counted a couple of months ago, it was like 88 countries. And I would say that Egypt is in the top 3 countries that I've ever visited. Seeing the pyramids for the first time, it's still inside me. I'll never lose that feeling when you see the pyramids for the first time. I mean, as kids, we've always wanted to, you dream about seeing the pyramids. So same feeling I get with Abu Simbel. There's an entranceway. This takes you through Abu Simbel. All right, another cool temple we visit along the way is Komombo. Komombo is a temple dedicated to the crocodile god Sobek, as well as the falcon god Horus. And if you look in the middle of this temple here, you can see two entrances, one to the left, one to the right. And those are the two entrances for the gods. What makes this temple really kind of special is that you'll find a lot of mummified crocodiles in this area. Colombo was built back probably around 332 BC. Another temple that we'll visit is Karnak Temple. This is the largest temple. So this is probably where you're going to end up doing the longest walking tour of the temple, maybe about 2 hours. And I should say, when we do the walking tours, actually in Egypt, the Al-Madalia holds 68 people. But on day 2, you will meet your Egyptologist, and we break the ship into the Egyptologist will be the leader for 20 to 23 guests. So you'll have the same Egyptologist from day 2 when you head off to the Egyptian Museum all the way till the end of the trip. We're in small groups, so 3 Egyptologists on the ship because we hold 68 guests, and also we'll have a cruise director or tour director that oversees the Egyptologists. So you're going to be well cared for. Egyptologists, they have to go to university. They get a 4-year degree before they get a license to be a guide. So they're incredibly educated. And our Egyptologists, they've averaged 7 to 10 years. They've been working as Egyptologists, so they're really they're experienced. Another temple I just wanted to point out is the Temple of Hathor, probably one of the best preserved temples in Egypt, built around 2,000 years ago. It actually consists of about 3 temples, features some Egyptian, Greek, and Roman architecture, but they also have a lot of pools and sacred pools in these temples. The pools you can see now, they're filled up with rock. You can't go swimming in this area, but if you think about it, 2,000 years ago, the Egyptians were already swimming in pools. Still, it's a special thing to swim in a pool with someone at home in the Hollywood Hills or whatever like that. So the Egyptians, again, way ahead of the society, swimming pools, women leaders, and so on. All right, so we've just spent 7 nights down on the Nile River, and then we're going to fly back to Cairo for 1 night. So we fly back, and then we're going to get to Cairo around noon. And, if you go to certain places in the world, like you go to Europe and, you visit a lot of churches, you visit a lot of plazas. So by day 7 or 8, you'll still see these churches and plazas, but it'd be nice to see something a little different. And that's what we've done. We'll go back to Cairo and we're going to visit the presidential palace. This is an amazing palace built back in 1873. This is where the president lives. And this is also where dignitaries come when they do state visits and stuff. They stay in the presidential palace. There are several museums in the palace. We can't go to all of them, but we'll do a walking tour, a portion of the palace. It's known for its clock collection as well as art, old art. And so you'll have a chance to see some of this, but then we take it one step further. We're going to have remember this is the second last day of the trip in Egypt, so we're going to have a farewell lunch at the presidential palace. Beautiful lunch, celebration of your trip through Egypt, and we're doing it a farewell lunch rather than a celebration at night, because most of the flights back to North America leave early in the morning, and I'm talking like 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 9 a.m. And so a lot of guests would rather prefer to have their last night relaxing, getting their suitcase ready, try to get a good night's sleep, and we'll take you back to the airport. But so we're going to visit the presidential palace, have a great lunch. And there's an inside of the presidential palace. And then we're just going to do a visit to Old Cairo before we go back to the hotel. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A lot of Roman ruins in here, and this dates back to about the 10th century. So we do that, and we'll get back to the hotel about 5 o'clock. You have a free evening, and then we'll take you back to the airport early the next morning, and you can fly back to North America. So you've done the 12 nights in Egypt, or the 12 days in Egypt, but you have some options to start early or extend after your Egypt trip. And the first one I'm going to talk to you about is Jordan, 4 nights, and you would do this before your trip to Egypt. Jordan, it's 2 nights in Amman and 2 nights in Petra. Amman, you'll fly into Amman. You need a visa for Amman, but we take care of that. So you'll receive your visa on arrival, and we'll transfer you to the hotel. Amman itself is a city of about 4 million people, an incredibly old city, very historic. There are statues in Amman that date back to, date back about 7,000 years. So the hotel we're going to use in Amman is at the St. Regis Amman. This is just a picture of the lobby. These are the pictures of the room. It's a 5-star hotel, one of the top-rated hotels in Amman. And so we'll spend 2 nights there. And of course, we'll have breakfast every day in Amman. And we'll do a tour of the whole part of Amman and on the day 2. And then we'll also just head north to Amman in the afternoon, and we'll visit Jerash. And this is a picture of Jerash here. It's the Roman ruins or Roman city that was built around the 2nd century. Of course, the Romans aren't in Jordan anymore, but you can see the history of what was left behind, something like a Roman Colosseum. We'll also visit sort of a castle restaurant this day out in the countryside, historic restaurant. So we'll visit Jerash, we'll do a tour of the old part of Amman, and then we'll head south on your 3rd day down to Petra. It's about 4 hours south of Jerash, or Amman. And here's the picture of Petra. And Petra itself, we all know this site. It's famous from that movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think there was a ball or something that was rolling down. And Petra itself was an incredible trading center, thriving city, and a lot of temples in this area, in a very dry part of the world. But this place survived because they built aquifilters, aqueducts down from the mountains, which had a lot of snow, into the city below. And but of course, after years and years of drought, it was abandoned probably around the 2nd century. It wasn't discovered again until a Swiss explorer came through and found this back in 1812. This amazing site, even though it's been around for so long, it wasn't until 1985 that they made it a world, UNESCO World Heritage Site. So we'll spend a day at Petra, but what we're doing a little different here is we're going to stay at a hotel here called the Old Village Resort. So with Ama, you're always used to a 5-star ship, 5-star hotels, and so on like this. This hotel is not a 5-star. It's actually a 4-star, built in kind of the rocks of Petra. And the reason we chose this hotel, just to be a little different, it supports the local community because it's owned by the locals. It's not a national chain or anything, a Marriott or a Movenpick and so on. It's owned by the locals, and it's so local that they haven't even been able to get they don't drink in this part of the world, so there's no alcohol license at the Old Village Resort, but the food is great. So we'll spend 2 nights at the Old Village Resort and visit Petra. And if you go on TripAdvisor and look for the Old Village Resort, you'll find it rated as the #1 lodging in Petra. Another option we have is Dubai, 3 nights in Dubai, and you can do either Jordan or Dubai before Egypt. You can't do both, you can choose one or the other. So Dubai, an amazing city, massive city, sort of just sprung out of nowhere over the last 50 years. The architecture is incredible, can be cheesy, can be out of this world, but at the end of the day, it's amazing to see. And I have to admit, it gets very hot there in their summer, July and August. We don't travel at that time of the year. But just to give you an idea, when I was there in July and I was with our guide, after about a half a day around lunchtime, I said, man, it's just too hot. It was 117 degrees. I said, I got to get out of here. He goes, well, let's go to the mall. And I said to him, okay, we'll go to the mall, but I'm not really a mall kind of guy. But he goes, let's just go to this mall. So we went to this mall and we got there around 1 o'clock. And we're supposed to have lunch there, but when you walk in, he didn't tell me this, that there's a ski slope inside the mall. So with snow, artificial snow and stuff like that. So we grabbed something to eat, and for the rest of the afternoon, we were skiing inside a mall in Dubai when it was 117 degrees outside. So that's what kind of like, I'm trying to explain what Dubai is all about. This is the hotel we're going to use. It's the JW Marriott Marquis. Again, look at the architecture. It's actually, in this case, it's beautiful architecture. Your rooms, select rooms at the Marriott, and 3 nights here. So we're going to meet you at the airport. We'll take you to the hotel. You'll meet a local guide and so on. Next day, we'll do a tour of Dubai, visit the old part, the port, and so on like that. And later on that afternoon, we're going to head out into the desert and do a tour over the sand dunes and jeeps in the desert surrounding Dubai. And we'll take it a little step further, and we're going to have dinner out there in the sand dunes, and this is sort of the entrance into dinner. Have a great lunch, a great dinner in the middle of the desert. And what else we're going to do is on another day, we're just going to head southwest of Dubai, about 80 kilometers, and visit Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, again, an amazing city, part of the United Arab Emirates. In this case, we're going to visit the city, tour the city, and visit the Zayed Grand Mosque. Beautiful mosque, and you can look at the architecture here. It's not old. It was actually built back in 1985. We'll be there on a Thursday, but if we were here on a Friday in this plaza that you're looking at right now, you'd find 40,000 worshipers in the plaza, 40,000. So that's 3 nights in Dubai as an option. And finally, at the end of your trip, you'll have an option to go to Israel for 4 nights. And so what we would do is we would fly from Cairo to Tel Aviv. It takes about an hour and a half, fly in the morning, and we'll land in Tel Aviv. We'll tour the old part of Tel Aviv, and then we'll drive up to Jerusalem for 4 nights. Jerusalem itself is about an hour outside of Tel Aviv. Just a little side fact about Tel Aviv. I mean, it's been settled there for about 8,000 years. Incredibly old city. And we visit the old Jaffa area, which is the artist quarters, before we head up to Jerusalem. Of course, we'll include lunch. And when we're in Jerusalem, we're going to spend 4 nights here. But if you're, your history, your Christianity is important to you and stuff, you're going to go to Israel, you're going to spend 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. Jewish, you want to explore your Jewish history and stuff like that, you'll probably go again for 10 days, 2 weeks. But what we've done is just to give you a taste of Israel, like a little bit of everything. Like, yes, we'll visit Bethlehem, we'll visit the tomb of King David, but we'll also visit the Jewish quarter, and we'll also walk through, visit the local market where the locals go to, pick up their fresh vegetables and food and stuff like that, and have a nice lunch in the old marketplace. So we kind of give you a taste of everything, and it works that way. The hotel we're going to stay at is the Four Seasons, or not the Four Seasons, the Waldorf Astoria, and it's a 5-star hotel in central Jerusalem. And here you can see a picture of the room, beautiful room. Another cool thing that we do to give you a taste of what this area is all about, we're going to visit Masada, which is a sort of an ancient stone fortress at the top of the mountain. It was used as sort of a getaway, for the royalty and leaders of this part of the world, thousands of years ago. And it was built, I guess, around 30 BC, so 1,000 years ago, by King Herod. And look here to the left-hand side, sort of halfway up, you'll see kind of like a black structure sticking outside on the side of the cliff. That's actually a cable car. So the only way to get to the top of Masada is from a cable car. So we'll head up to the top of Masada. You'll get to tour the old ruins and stuff. And then take a look at the left-hand side. See some water out there. So after we visited Masada, we're going to head down and head to the lowest part of the world, the lowest elevation, the Dead Sea. And again, the Dead Sea is a very special place. I think we all know about it because it's one of the few places that you can get in the water and it's impossible to sink because it's so salty. So for those that want to, you'll get an opportunity to swim in the Dead Sea, or at least float in the Dead Sea, I guess. If you don't want to do that, we are going to have lunch at a beautiful resort there and sort of a beach and stuff. So it's up to you whether you want to go into the lake or not. The Dead Sea is famous. If you go to spas here in North America, you'll find Dead Sea salt, mud, stuff like that. So those that want to, you maybe get a face tour or something during our time here, I guess you can also do that. So that's 4 nights in Israel, and then we'll take you back to the airport in Tel Aviv on the last day, and you'll fly back to North America. So Becky, that's our presentation of Israel with all its extensions. And Becky, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Just it amazes me. This is the second or third time I've seen you present on it, and it's just wonderful. So I'm excited about it. I think it's definitely a bucket list trip for, I know it is for me, and I think most people. So because of that, I put together this group, and I know it seems like it's a long ways off, but I think that's kind of good. It gives us all a lot of time to plan and for things to, everything to stabilize as far as travel. So we're not having to worry about that. And so I've got also some exclusive pricing that's available if you book by September 30th. And keep in mind that these prices are including, it's that 11 nights, the 3 nights in Cairo, 7 nights in Luxor, the 7 nights along the Nile, and then another night in Cairo, and then also that intra-air and your transfers, and all those wonderful tours that Todd talked about. So it's a pretty amazing trip. And feel free to reach out to me to get more information about it. There's the lead-in pricing that I've got shown there. There's other categories with the balconies. So feel free to reach out. And I'm really looking forward to this trip. And thank you, Todd, for all of the information. It was great.
Yeah. Hey, Richard. Was it Richard? We also, I guess we can also say we have a Travel Plus program. So if you do book this trip, we do for whether you buy for $180 if you don't purchase the insurance, or something like $75, you can cancel up to 24 hours. I mean, we don't know what the world is going to be like in 2 years. We hope it's okay, but you can book this and purchase the Travel Plus program for peace of mind. For 2 years down the road. That makes sense, Becky?
Yeah, no, that was perfect. That was good. Yeah, so really just gives you some peace of mind. It, like you said, cancel up to 24 hours prior to departure, and it protects your full travel investment. So normally if you cancel a certain period of time for non-covered reason, there could be penalties and certain amount you may not get back. But with Travel Waiver Plus, that percentage that you would maybe get penalized on normally, we actually retain that as future cruise credit. So really good thing to have there. Todd, that was a great presentation. Thanks so much for that overview. Just a few other tidbits that I'll share for the people that are interested in doing some river cruising. You may or may not know, we happen to be the only American river cruise line that has a ship presently sailing in Europe. It's actually been chartered by a German company right now. So we got a number of German guests, as well as some Austrian guests that are sailing on the Rhine, doing 6-day, 5-night sailings. What's really nice about this is that, one, it's nice to actually be sailing, to say we actually have a ship sailing, but I think even on the bigger picture is that all the things that we've been putting into place as we're looking to determine, what processes do we have to have on board the ship to ensure everyone's safety, we're able to implement those things, So I kind of like to say that the Germans are doing a bit of a dress rehearsal for the larger North American market when we're able to get back. And the response has been absolutely positive. We have a number of folks that have actually booked a second time. This part I thought was really interesting. I believe it was the crew that actually kind of did their own little sort of a test to kind of see, how long are people actually having to wear their masks. So on the 6-day, 5-night cruise, they actually determined that guests are wearing their mask somewhere between 22 to 25 minutes. If you've had a chance to go out to a restaurant or even just doing shopping, with the restaurant, you walk in, you're wearing your mask. If you get up to use the restroom, you wear your mask, and when you leave. But otherwise, when you're sitting down, which is the majority of the time, you don't have to have your mask on. The other part is that with the shore excursions that we're offering, we use something called these AudioVox headsets. So at no point do you need to be right next to the tour guide. You can be 40, 50 feet away, still hearing everything they're saying. The groups are actually going out smaller presently, at least until further notice. Right now, the groups are between 10 to 15 guests. So, everything that we need to put in place, we're putting in place right now, and having to manage not only to, within Europe anyways, European Union, whatever the other individual countries may set, we have to manage to those as well too. So not to spend too much time on that, but all that just to really share that we're we're on this. We want to ensure the safety of our guests and certainly our crew, and we're excited to be able to at least have that ship sailing right now. Becky, do you have any other questions or anything else maybe for myself or Todd to address that maybe we want us to expand on a bit?
No, you both brought up some good points that I'd forgotten about with the Travel Waiver Plus, so that was awesome. And I love that you brought up the Germany sailing. It just means we're moving along. So I think that's great. Other than that,
We have one more.
looking forward to, I think we didn't have time. It was last minute, didn't make a slide for it.
Right.
September 10th, if you join us again, and I believe Todd's joining us too, at 4:30, we're going to go on explore Africa, and it's on the Chobe River and the Zambezi Queen, and I forget, but this is an incredible journey too. So you'll learn more about that then in September.
Very good. Okay.
Okay.
So much, both of you, and thank everybody for that came along today.
Right. I look forward to seeing everyone again on September the 10th.
Very good.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.